The following, here we go with this self-mutilation agenda again. News comes courtesy of TMZ. TMZ writes, and I quote, Audrey Middleton, who will be one of the house guests on the upcoming Big Brother, was not always Audrey. She was born Adam. TMZ has learned Audrey will become the first transgender on the US version of the show, and she plans to use the program as a showcase, similar to what Caitlyn Jenner has been doing. Audrey grew up in a small Georgia town as a boy, and life was far from easy. We're told when she transitioned several years ago, her family had a hard time accepting it, and they're now fully supportive and on board. The 25-year-old was inspired by Caitlyn Jenner's story, but she's also just a big fan of Big Brother. It's a dicey move for producers, given the show has had its share of racist and homophobic house guests. The show runs a live stream 24/7 and things happen, but we're told it will all become a teaching moment and Audrey is pumped, end quote. Here's my opinion. There are stories all over the internet about this man Adam, and the headlines are celebrating his appearance on the show, as if it's some sort of pseudo victory of sorts. Now, while in reality, Adam's apple was a self-mutilator. Now, no matter what way you cut it, pun intended, he cut his bleep off. And I'm supposed to support someone harming himself because he hates himself? Never. That would not be genuine. That is wrong to support someone cutting themselves up. In fact, I would go as far to say that anybody who supports this foolishness is anti-American, pro-self-hatred, pro-self-destruction, and a very sick individual all around. Now, if you were really, quote, born this way, you wouldn't feel the need to go and have body parts, including reproductive organs, removed. Anyone who hates himself this much, that he would go through with cutting his genitals off, has a major gender identity disorder and self-mutilation issues. This person should seek help immediately, generally speaking, not just Adam. And when I say help, I don't mean support for self-destruction. To make matters worse, while Mr. Adam identifies, quote unquote, identifies with being a woman without the ability to menstruate, birth a child, produce milk from his nipples, etc., and many other things real actual females can do, the same people who support this self-mutilation craze also hate the former president of the NAACP in Spokane, Washington, Miss Rachel Dolezal. She's white and identifies as black. Yet, people who support this transsexual and homosexual agenda called Mrs. Dolezal a fraud. At least Rachel Dolezal didn't mutilate herself to become transracial Rachel. She changed her hairdo, she tanned her skin. Now this guy, as far as I know, cut his hot dog off. And of course, I'll be mislabeled as being, quote, homophobic or transphobic for merely speaking the truth. And of course, that's a mislabeling. As a matter of fact, if you think I'm a homophobe or I'm a transphobe because of what I'm saying, then if you, and to top it off, if you hate or don't agree with Rachel, you're a racist. Don't you dare for a picosecond ever think about fixing your lips to refer to me as names such as homophobic or transphobic. Those are dirty words. They're hateful and they're often misused. Now, a phobia is a fear of something. And while Mr. Adam doesn't scare me, I have every right to be afraid. If he cut his you-know-what off, imagine what he would do to somebody outside of himself. Imagine the real internal fight that he's going on within himself. Because that's a violent act, whether you want to realize it or not. Also, women who audition for the show should be particularly offended because he stole a spot from a female. This cast is not even. It's 8 men and 6 women to make 14 people. Homosexual people should also be particularly offended because if you're not the type of person to go around slicing up your hot dog, then this guy being viewed as one of the team should be an insult to you. I mean, he mutilated himself. I'm talking about that whole made up group of LGBTQAO, whatever, the freaking whole alphabet, trying to add all these people onto it to increase the numbers because there's so few of you. That's a weak team. I mean, if you just got to throw all sorts of randoms in there. Anyway, with all of that said, I will leave the subject on this note. Big Brother cast 1 Asian person this season, 1 so-called black, and 2 gay men. I consider Adam to be a gay man. He will never be a woman. Well, we have to ask ourselves this. What is CBS up to when they cast 14 people for a reality TV show and they put as many gays as they do so-called minorities on the television show? Now, only a smart percentage of the population is actually gay, and thankfully an even smaller percentage embraces the dangerous act of self-mutilating. With so few of these people walking around, why would you put so many on the show? The answer? They're really trying to shove this agenda down our throats, pun intended. And if you're easily swayed, you will believe that people self-mutilating is somehow, some way normal. And that's disingenuous, that's sneaky, and anybody who tries to make you think that way has an agenda, and it's not a good one. But hey, this is all my opinion. Let me know what you think about it all below. Be sure to subscribe to the Meat Magazine YouTube channels and visit meatmagazine.blogspot.com for more. Let me give everybody a heads up. Number one, if you call me transphobic or homophobic, I'm not at all, so you'll probably be blocked. So save your breath. Number two, if you sit up there and try to argue with me as opposed to maybe making a point that makes sense, you'll probably just be blocked anyway and banned from my channel. Don't come here talking unless you have something to add to the discussion. If you honestly think that I'm wrong, explain to me why I'm wrong. Let me listen. We could teach each other something if you really honestly think that I'm wrong by saying this man is a self-mutilator. That's what it is. If you cut body parts off, you're a self-mutilator. If somebody cut their arm or their leg off today, we call them crazy. But if they cut their genitals off, we say, oh, he's trapped in a body that he knows that he shouldn't have ever been born in. Really? So you're saying that nature made mistakes? That's interesting. Anyway, let me know what you think about it below within reason. Don't you dare go talking crap to me. Don't call me names. Explain things like an adult. If you have issues with doing that, you will be blocked. You've been warned. Meat Magazine. Homophobe, transphobe, silly mutilators.